everyone! It's my favorite time of the year, the monsoon season. After a long, scorching summer that we generally get in India, the first rain shower is one of my absolute favorite things in the world. But what I enjoy more about the rainy season is a bowl of warm, hearty soup. I know that a lot of you also enjoy it because so many of you requested me to share some soup recipes. So in my video today, I'm going to be sharing with you two of my all-time favorite soup recipes, one veg and one non-veg. So let's begin. The first recipe is my vegetarian favorite, a warm bowl of spinach soup. Let's begin with the preparations. First thing I'm going to do is chop up one whole onion. I'm using a medium-sized white onion here, but you can use red onion also. There's no specific requirement of white onion as such. You also don't need to chop it into very fine pieces. Eventually it's going to be pureed, so you can make rough chops of it. And then I'm going to mince about 6 to 7 cloves of garlic. And that's it for the preparation bit. We're now going to start making the soup. So in a non-stick kadai, I'm going to add some oil here. And then I'm going to drop in the onion pieces. Next, we'll add in the garlic. And then as soon as the onions and the garlic turn a little brown, we'll add the spinach leaves to this. Make sure that your spinach leaves are washed properly. Lightly mix the spinach leaves with the onion and the garlic. And then add in about 300 milliliters of water. For seasoning, I'm going to add some salt and some freshly ground black pepper. It's always a good idea to add freshly ground pepper because it adds so much more flavor. Gently saute this with the help of a spatula and then cover the lid and let this whole thing cook together, boil for about 4 to 5 minutes. After about 5 minutes of boiling, when the spinach leaves start looking like this, just turn off the gas and let this whole thing cool down for about 4 to 5 minutes. And once it's completely cool, transfer this whole thing to a blending jar. Blend this together till it comes to a very fine puree-like consistency. You will need to blend this for about a minute's time so that the whole thing comes together very nicely. After the blending, this is how we want the consistency to look like. After this, just transfer this whole puree to the same pan in which we made the masala and then just warm this for about a minute's time. At this point, if you like, you can add a few knobs of butter as well. I generally don't add it because it's just added calories, but you can always do this, it'll only enhance the flavor. And in the end, it's time to serve this in a bowl. Before eating, I always like adding some sesame seeds to this because it adds a good crunch. And then I always add a little drizzle of fresh cream. Cream goes so well with spinach, this soup will just turn from amazing to super amazing. And that's it, the beautiful soup is ready to be served. Enjoy it in the rainy season and you will be so fulfilled. The next one is my personal favorite. It's a seafood noodle soup. For this, first thing we're going to do is start making the seafood stock. So for that, in a deep pan, I have added some olive oil and a few cloves of garlic. Next, we'll drop in some bony pieces of fish. You can ask your fish seller to give you some fish bones, or if you don't find anything, you can always add the head part of the fish. Let this be in the oil for about a minute and then add about 300 milliliters of water. For seasoning, we're going to add in some freshly ground black pepper and a generous helping of salt. Lightly mix all of these things together. And then cover the lid and let it simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. While that is happening on the side, we'll start prepping our vegetables. So what I'm chopping here are 2 to 3 whole tomatoes. Now you can use more or less depending on your liking. Generally about 2 medium tomatoes is a good quantity. Chop the tomato pieces into fine dices. Next we'll move on to chopping 2 whole green chilies. Now the ones that I'm using are actually not very spicy, so I'm using 2 of them, but if you're using a very spicy green chili, try using just one or use as many as you like depending on your tolerance for spicy food. And then I'm chopping in 1 medium onion. Again, for onions, try to make them into small dices. And in the end, I'm going to mince about 6 to 7 cloves of garlic again. So while all the preparation is done, this is how the stock is looking like right now. I would typically want it to simmer for about 10 to 15 more minutes. This is because the longer you simmer your stock, the more flavorful it becomes over time. So we're going to cover it with the lid again and let this simmer on the side while we start making the rest of the preparations for the soup. So in a different pan, I'm going to add some olive oil, to which I'll drop in the onion pieces. Let the onions become a little translucent, after which we'll add in the garlic pieces. Let the flavor of garlic infuse very well with the oil because it'll add a blast of flavor. Now I'm adding something that's completely optional. These are anchovy fillets, which are basically very small fishes. They are typically a little bit more expensive, so you can completely skip that if you're not looking to add it. But if you like it, you can definitely add it because it adds a nice Italian authentic flavor. And then we're adding in the green chilies. Next, we'll add in the tomato pieces. And then we'll saute all of these things together for about 2 minutes. At this point, I'm adding a tablespoon of butter, but this is completely optional. It does add a beautiful flavor, but also adds calories. So it's your call. If you want, you can definitely add it. And then we're adding in the seafood. So what I'm using here are some pieces of prawns and some boneless fish pieces. The fish that I'm using here is red snapper, but you can use any boneless fish fillet. Basa also works very well with this recipe. Now once you add your seafood pieces, don't stir it very strongly. Just give a gentle stir to the rest of the masala that we've sort of prepared here. And then for seasoning, I'm going to freshly crush in some black pepper and a little bit of salt. Add very little because the stock that we've made also has salt. Now we'll let our seafood pieces cook for about 4 to 5 minutes. Meanwhile, the stock is completely ready, so I'm going to transfer the stock water to a jar and then I'm going to discard the pieces of the fish bones. Once you separate the stock from the bones, add it to the pan in which we're cooking our soup. Give this whole thing a very gentle stir. And then I'm adding in the noodles. So what I'm using here is my favorite millet noodles, but you can add any noodles that you like. You can add some of your pasta as well. Anything that pleases you. Now we're going to let this whole thing cook together for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to gently cover it with the lid, and after about 10 minutes the soup is completely ready. For some added flavor, I'm going to add some coriander leaves. If you like, you can add parsley leaves as well. And that's it, the soup is ready to be served. I'm going to transfer it to my favorite bowl. And enjoy it in the beautiful rainy season. If you are a seafood lover, you will find this soup so delicious. Trust me, there's nothing that's more fulfilling and hearty than this. So that's it for today, guys. I've given you 2 beautiful recipes for the rainy season. Do let me know how you like them in the comment section. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in my next video. Bye.